Well, this isn't how I usually like to record my videos because usually I like to do them in the studio with better lighting and have it all built out. But I want to keep to the schedule, and I know people have been watching the videos. I am in a hotel in New York right now working on a documentary, and I just have not had the time to sneak in a recording. But I thought it was kind of an apropos time and message to be able to make a video. I've barely been able to hang with my family. I've had shoots every week. I've been traveling San Diego Comic-Con with my last film, working on a new doc. We're working on another doc now, so we're in New York. And next week I'm shooting a short film. We got stuff in pre-production. So just a very busy time. And honestly, when I was working on this stuff earlier this year, I was in more of a building mode where I just wanted to create some new stuff and kind of test the waters with the channel and see what we could connect with. Now I'm at a point where, yeah, when you're making this kind of stuff, it's hard to maintain the consistency to create the kind of quality that you want, especially if it's just you and a small team or you by yourself. So I thought this would connect with some other creators, because if you're a creator in 2025, you need to find ways to be able to make all kinds of things. People are always looking at, you've got client projects, you've got deadlines. If you're a filmmaker, you've got films. But at the same time, you have to make that stuff for yourself. And it feels like you got to be creating content for, all your channels, all your marketing. And it can be tricky when you add into that the burnout that comes from just feeling like you're being pulled in so many directions. I see in the comments and the messages all the time, my newsletter, which is about filmmaking, I see the comments and responses almost every time. It's about people who are stuck in burnout, and they're trying to find ways to stay creatively fulfilled, make the kind of work that they want, but get out of that cycle. And what I found, the thing that's really tricky about being an artist is, even once you get outside of the cycle, there's always another goalpost. So how do you manage that as a creative? That's really what this video is all about. It seems like creativity and arts, along with projects or commercials, are all about seasons of creativity. We find those sort of more fertile times where things are happening. They're the result of the seeds that we planted. So like this channel, along with some of the films that I'm working on, and even the documentaries, they're all kind of seeds that you plant when you have the time to do it. As all these things manifest, you can't predict what's going to work. But if you want to maintain consistency, you really have to still push through in the hard times. But I saw a message from somebody yesterday, and I saw a comment from someone. So I was on TikTok yesterday, and I saw someone who had a video that they posted that was all about creative burnout and, taking time for yourself. And of course you do need to. I think you're never going to regret taking time for yourself, for your family, for your own creativity. But also, you really don't want to become too complacent. I think it's easy for people to, pat you on the back when you say you need a break. And our culture right now is really weird, because it's a mix of like, go, go, go. You can't do enough. You always have to do more. But on the flip side, it's a very permissive culture where, do what's best for you. And so who do you really listen to? How do you find that inner voice that allows you to do what you need to do, but also, gives you time to create for yourself? The mental and emotional toll that being an artist, being a creative commercial artist can take is pretty real. And I think that it's something that people talk about, but in this kind of freelance sort of gig economy that's been built up for the past 15 years, so many of us have struggled to, be successful, try and find what that success is, but still be true to our arts. So for me, the way that I have done it, what's been really important and key for me is to maintain the creative flame. And I find after I do a huge creative project or something that I do just for myself, there's a period after that where I'm just really burnt out and I need to recharge. And then, the creative juices start kicking in. That's when you start building the ideas. That's when you start figuring out what you're going to do next. So the best way that I found to push through that is to stay focused, take the time for yourself, lean into your support system, lean into your family, and ask people for help. Or start, and if you don't have those networks, then if you don't have those things, then it's something you really want to take seriously when you have the downtime, because we kind of have these ups and downs. Now, this year in the economy has been really weird, and I know that a lot of artists out there are struggling to just make ends meet. And even if you're commercial artists, I've talked to commercial photographers and DPs in 2025. It's a very weird economy. There's still stuff going on. There's still jobs that are happening, but budgets are shrinking, and some of the stuff that we used to count on, for 5, 10 years has just totally disappeared, or maybe there's a newer generation that's coming in. And I've experienced that too. What I've found is that the storytelling, the creator driven content is kind of evergreen. And so it's always worth building and working on this stuff. And so I've got a lot of really exciting, cool behind the scenes content and stuff that I am putting together. I've got this short film that I'm working on. We've got this cool documentary that we're doing here and some other projects that are in the works. But I didn't want to sleep on publishing something this week and just being real. But I don't want to sleep on creating this stuff and publishing every week, because I've honestly just been loving the practice of it. I found it really valuable. And so I thought there was something meaningful about just trying to make something about the time right now. And definitely we've got some content that's coming in the future that's more produced, and I've been really appreciating how some of the stuff we've done has connected and resonated with people, and it seems like people are really into the film stuff, people are really into the LUTs, so I've got more of that. But I know how hard it can be to be a creative and to try and connect, and so yeah, I just want to say, like, if you're out there and you're trying to connect all the pieces as an artist, as a freelancer, you're not the only one. And if you're tired and burnt out, that's a totally reasonable thing. If you feel like you want to push through, yeah, you should push through. Like, don't pat yourself on the back for doing nothing, but you do need to take care of yourself, and you're never going to regret time that you can spend with your family and your friends and your relationships. Like, that's always the most important thing. And then once you're filled up, you can get right back into it. So now I probably need to go get some dinner and go to sleep so we can start working on this film tomorrow.